Listen, the ends justify the means. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, not all the times. But let me get to this first actual topic, right? It said, what are the key differences when dating men from different countries? Obviously, you ladies are from Toronto. What would you, have you ever dated American men?
I have.
What would you say is the biggest difference between Toronto men and American men?
I mean, for the experience I had, I would say the difference was the initial like efforts. Toronto men are just known for like being like princesses. Like they want you to chase them. They want you to like basically like
feminine.
Yeah, they just want you to plan the date. They want you to like beg for their time, like just with the way they move. So I think it was refreshing at the time when the situation was happening because it was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Like it was just like very easy. Like the communication was easy. Like they were applying pressure. So it's not like it's impossible to find in Toronto, but all the friends that I have that are either engaged, married, or in long-term relationships, their partners are actually not originally from Toronto. So they'll be like from Jamaica or like back home in like Africa, and like they came here when they were already in their adulthood. There's just something about born and raised Toronto men where they do not apply pressure. Like they don't. So y'all have one up on them. I'm not gonna lie.
So you chatting,
so when the girls come here, I actually have one close friend that married a man from the States in 2019. They're still married. They have a baby right now. And then I have another coworker who married a guy from I think Michigan or something, and she moved. So it's a couple people in my circle that actually like married from the States and moved, or like the guy moved to Toronto.
Interesting. Okay, what would you say?
I've never dated an American man, probably never will, but nothing against you guys, but
that sounds very personal.
No, I'm just saying I just probably never will. Like I just know, but same thing what she said. Like I feel like the effort is more there, even outside of American men. The effort is just more there, as she said, with the Toronto men. They want to be.
So who do you date then?
I dated from Toronto, but now I'm exploring other options, but not American, if that makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense. But
I there's nothing against it. Like I would talk to an American guy, but then it's like no at the same time. I don't know why. Like I don't know. I'm contradicting myself.
Don't get no better.
I'm contradicting myself. But
where's the fear coming from with exploring that option?
Say that again.
Where's the fear coming from? Like why wouldn't you do it?
I don't know. Like I just never seen myself doing that. I don't know. Like maybe if the right person comes along, maybe. I don't know.
Are she treating American men like they got?
No, there's no. Like honestly, no, there's not. Like I feel like the American men, they got a lot of better looking people out here. I'm not gonna lie, but it's just I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know. I just.
But it gotta be something that's making you feel like it's a red flag
type of situation.
Do you not see yourself moving to America?
That part. Okay, yeah, that's probably that. Like I like America. I like coming here to visit, but I would never live here.
Okay.
Like, and I'm not talking about just like New York. Just in general, I could never live here.
Yeah, I see that. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I think that's more it. You could say that.
Okay.
They would have to probably move over to Canada. But honestly, I feel like moving to America would be the better option if I was talking to someone from America.
Why do you feel like that?
Just because
I feel like healthcare.
Yeah, that's not everything. But like, I just feel like it's easier to get ahead in America versus in Canada. I feel like the lifestyles is different. So I just feel like it would just make more sense. And then look at our dollar. Our dollar is like, it should be free at this point because it's so trash. So like, I'm not even joking. And it's expected to drop again. So it's like, why leave here where you can make it further, do more versus come to Canada and you just get free healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, what good is free healthcare if the economy is like suffering? Like, you know what I mean? Maybe not because of it, but
yeah.
I find these topics always interesting because y'all sound almost like American women. Like when they talk about American men, like y'all, it's verbatim the same thing. Like y'all say. So right. I always find it interesting that people, whether it's their own ethnicity or their own countries, they always tend to speak bad about the people that they are closest in proximity to. And then they always speak highly of, like, you know, it's the same thing. Like black men and women will bash each other and then go on high praise somebody else. And like,
that's true.
You know, I've spoken to people recently who is an African dude, and he was like, I would never date an African woman. And I'm like, and the American men is like, yeah, we love African women. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, it's crazy. I met a Dominican man who said the same thing. I would never date a Dominican woman. And it's like, it's crazy how we look so negatively on people that's always in close proximity to us, while other people on the outside is looking like, yeah, I need me one of them. Like, you know what I mean? So I definitely wanted to ask that question because I wanted y'all perspective because y'all are from Toronto. So
I definitely think that's true. I see that, but I don't think that's at least not for me. That's not the reason, because I'm African. I love African men. I love Black men, but there's something specific about Toronto. It's to the point where like people, like I've met people through work where they were coming to Toronto as like an exchange student or something. And I even remember when I was working at Sephora, and I struck up a conversation with this girl that was like from Europe, and she was visiting Toronto, and she just was like, by the way, like the men here, they just don't like, they don't approach you, or like they'll find you attractive and just kind of like do nothing. And I was like, yeah. And she was like looking at me for me to say something. I was like, welcome to Toronto, sis. So it's just there. I'm not even making this up. Like it's really a Toronto like thing. I think it's getting worse like the older you get.
I think the men are becoming.
Do y'all think that's a product of just society as a whole? Because American women have that same sentiment, and you will hear men say they don't approach women as frequently because women have over the last 5-10 years been vocal about men not approaching them. So now men are like, all right, well, y'all have been the loudest talking about y'all don't want men to approach us. Don't approach me. Don't talk to me if you see me in public. Like, so now we're following suit, and now it's like, well, y'all not trying to approach. I'm like, which one is it? Like, do we approach and then we get labeled a creep, or do we not approach and then be, y'all not aggressive enough, assertive enough? Like,
I think it's how you approach, though. It's not always just about the approach. I think it's how you approach. Sometimes it comes off a little.
I think it's how attracted you are to the person when they approach you.
I notice female do that. Women do that too. Like if a man's not attracted and they approach them and they're not interested, they're like, oh, this guy's a creep. But if he's fine now and he comes and it's like, oh, okay, like it's a little different. Yeah,
I think it's the energy. Like I've had like men approach me in like a very aggressive way. So like if I'm walking down the street at the getting to the bus stop and it's like 1 a.m, don't roll your car window down and be like, hey, like it's just like in that situation, you could be a perfectly nice guy, but I don't know the situation. So I think there's like a time and a place. Like I've actually like been followed, things like that have happened. So like it's triggering a little bit. But there was one time where I was walking with my sister and it was during the daytime and it was like an older man. He was probably like in his 40s, Black man. And he just rolled down the window and he was like, you ladies are so beautiful. And we were like, thank you. And he just drove away. And we looked at each other. We're like, that was like really nice and genuine. Like we didn't feel like unsafe. We didn't feel awkward. And my sister, she's aggressive. She does not play. Like she hates when men like check her out because she's also had some crazy experiences. But the energy was just so genuine. We didn't feel any type of like threat, I guess. So I think for me as well, it's definitely the energy. It has not much to do with the person being attractive or not. I've had people approach me that I wasn't interested in and I was still like, hey, like, thank you. Like I'm with somebody, even though I wasn't, I just said that. But yeah, I think it's the approach.
I also seen when I went to Toronto a few times, because I have a sister that lives out there, that there's a lot of like interracial dating.
Yeah, there is.
Like I seen it like over walking down the block, I seen like 6-7 like people like holding hands, black, white. Is that something that you guys are into, or is that just what's common out there, or
I don't mind.
How does that work?
I was dating outside my race, but I just feel
beg your pardon. No, that's what Umar would say. Like, yeah.
I just feel Toronto's so diverse. Like there's every culture there, so it's like everyone's mixing and mingling. So I feel more what it is.
Is there not a loyalty to? Like in America, that is a very big thing, especially with Black women. They was like, "Why aren't you with black men? Why aren't you?" Like, is there no race loyalty really? I get the melting pot situation, but is there like, nah, you know what? I want to be with a Black man. I can't. See myself.
Do. Yeah. To be honest with you, like, I think as I'm getting older, I'm like entertaining the idea of opening it up, just because I do want to get married one day. But I've just always been the most attracted to Black men, and every man that I've been with has just been Black. So I would prefer to like, be with a Black man, have my little Black family. But if that's not what God has in store for me, like I'll accept it, but that's not my first choice.
Got you.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
And when y'all say, so is this a Canada issue or just specifically Toronto men are you referring to? Like if you go another place in Canada, are the men any better, or is it just like I said, is this a Canada thing or just a Toronto thing when it comes to the men?
I'm gonna say just off Toronto, because I don't really explore. Other than Montreal, I've never been to Alberta and never really explored Canada. We're just in our own bubble, so I'm just basing it off of Toronto.
Got you.
I would say I think it's Toronto, just because Toronto's so diverse. I think for the men especially, they have so many options. Whereas I feel like the rest of the rest of Canada is not as condensed. So I could see people just kind of like seeing something they like and settling with it, because that option is not going to be so highly available, if that makes sense. So I feel like it's more so Toronto.
Got you. this is y'all was speaking about like Jules talking about interracial dating earlier, and you know, in America, especially with Black Americans, we understand we have specific Black American culture. Is there such thing as Black Toronto culture? Is there a culture in Toronto? Like, it's like the UK. It's like I don't know what Black British culture is like. What is it like? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a definitive Black Canadian culture? Like,
I don't think so. Like, I wouldn't say so. I feel like it's no.
It's
like-
interesting because we don't have a high population of like Black Canadians. Like the way you guys just have like people are just like, I'm just Black American, like I'm not Caribbean, I'm not
That's what
African. So I think there's like a mix. There's like influence from both ends, if that makes sense. So there's like the Caribbean influence, and then there's like the African influence. I would say. So I would say no.
But they all fuck with each other.
Yeah.
Excuse
Yeah,
my-
yeah, they do. I would say so.
I would love that.
Yeah.
yeah, I think why there isn't because a lot of like when you think of Canada and the UK, these are immigrants who voluntarily went to these countries. It wasn't like they were like Black Americans were brought from the Caribbean islands to America or straight from Africa to America. So we were able to cultivate that lineage of culture there. Like when you think of like Canada and the UK, these are people whose family voluntarily left from Africa or the Caribbeans, and then that's why when you think of those specific culture, it is just like, okay, well, that came from Jamaica or this is the islands or Africa. Like, you know what I mean? There's more of a, just a, like you said, a melting pot of just different cultures kind of blending in together. So that was interesting. I just wanted to ask that.